Hi, this is the TV Enthusiast YouTube channel video discussion of Game of Thrones Season 5, Episode 3. I am Tyson Gifford, the editor-in-chief of TV Enthusiast, and joining me today is Will, the news director of TV Enthusiast.
Hello.
So, today we're going to be talking about the third episode of the 5th season of Game of Thrones. Now, to me, this episode was all about Jon Snow.
I think so, yeah. This was definitely a Jon Snow episode, more than anything else.
There was more going on, but yeah, Jon Snow, it was his story that was really central.
Really big moment in this episode, I thought.
He kind of had to prove his position to Stannis, I think.
I think not just to Stannis, but to like everybody. He was put in that position where now I have to send a message. And it was clear that it was not something he wanted to do. He didn't want to be in that position of doing that. But he knew what needed to be done. And
he handled it the Ned Stark way.
Yes.
The man who passes the sentence shall swing the sword. So, in this episode, Jon Snow beheaded Janos Slynt, who was the coward who, during the war, hid with in the same safe room with who Sam said he found in his own mess.
Yes.
So, or a puddle of his own making, I believe, is what he said.
A puddle of his own making.
So that was kind of the big thing this episode, because we had a moment between Stannis and Jon where Stannis was again asking Jon to, help the North and try to take over, and Jon again was trying to stay loyal to the Night's Watch, which kind of makes me nervous for Jon.
Yeah.
They kind of pointed out what happened with Ned, and then now here we have Jon kind of acting very Ned-like.
Yeah, Jon very much acting like Ned Stark. I think Stannis' right-hand man there. I think he made Davos. He made a pretty convincing argument, I think, to Jon Snow. And I don't know what's going to happen, but I think Jon Snow is definitely considering what he said.
Mm-hmm. I think there's going to be something being worked out, probably with the wildlings, where he's going to try to figure out some way to get them on. But it's going to be tricky, and it's going to put him in a kind of bad situation with some of the other Night's Watch, perhaps, where he's just been elected Lord Commander, and now he already, had a guy executed, which, he had good reason to do it. Following the kind of the laws of the Night Watch, he was supposed to do it. But the guy, he, already kind of had enemies, and now he's kind of over-solidified that, and going in with a plan that supports Stannis might even make that worse. So
yeah, it's clear that things are now heading towards a confrontation with Roose Bolton in the north. And it's clear that's where the story is headed right now.
And yeah, so it's going to be. It's going to be interesting to see how all of this plays out in the North, and because it's almost like it's ironic kind of that Robb just wanted the North alone, and that was kind of his only demand, and now it seems kind of like the Lannisters have just kind of left Bolton to the North. It's like the same thing Robb was asking for. And now we got this war going on in the North, and it just seems completely detached from the rest of what's going on in Westeros.
It really does.
But then again, so does Dorne, and that's making everything look like the Seven Kingdoms have already fallen apart.
We didn't get any Dorne this episode.
No, we didn't, but we've seen it in the last episode. We could tell Dorne looks very separate from...
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And that seemed to always be the case, but now with the North being separate and with Baelish in open defiance to the Lannisters, with in control of the Eyrie now. You just have it just looks like the Seven Kingdoms are already pretty much fractured.
Poor Sansa. They're marrying her off to another psychopath.
It was weird seeing Theon, or as he calls himself now, Reek, kind of hiding himself from Sansa
Yes.
as she's going by. I wonder what's going to happen with that, because clearly they're setting up some kind of interaction between those two.
Oh, they are setting up some kind of interaction between those two, and that's gonna be interesting when that happens.
Yeah, because Theon's pretty much there's no pride left in him. There's no ego. There's nothing. He's just this. So I think like his position in relation to Sansa has got to be something along the lines of maybe helping her get away.
Maybe.
I don't know.
I don't know where that's headed. Another thing. Oh, a wedding happened without incident.
It's a first.
It's a first.
That's the most shocking thing to happen in Game of Thrones this season.
Yeah, I know. Yay! They should have like a sign on the wall: number of weddings without incidents.
So this brings up, I've been looking into kind of like the book and show differences, not having, read the books, but just kind of reading kind of perceptions on the differences that have been going on right now. And it brings up, there's a lot of kind of interesting, pretty big changes that have happened, or things that are just kind of different, like, Tommen lost his virginity now because he's king and he got married. In the books, he's 8.
Oh, that would be weird.
So I don't know if he consummated his marriage or whatever in the books as well, but in the books he's 8. So
I thought that was like really awesome. It was like really funny because it was obvious he was like a virgin, and he was like, "This is totally awesome. We can do this all day, every day."
So yeah, that's funny, and you could see Marjorie's plan to kind of rid herself of Cersei. Yeah. And Cersei's kind of making movements to kind of form new alliances and stuff.
Them too.
Yeah.
And that's going to be another plot thread that comes to a head later on.
Mm-hmm.
Another thing is Tyrion got kidnapped.
By Jorah. Yeah.
By Jorah, still simping after Daenerys.
So he said he's going to take him to the Queen. I think he means Daenerys.
Yeah, he means obvious. Yeah, Daenerys.
Yeah.
It could be nobody else.
But we have to know Tyrion's obviously thinking he means Cersei.
Yeah.
At that point.
Cersei. Jorah wants so badly to get back on Daenerys' good side.
Mm-hmm.
And her pants. And
he's in the friend zone. Now he's not even in the friend zone anymore.
He's not even in the friend zone anymore. He messed up bad. So now he has to kidnap dwarves to get back in her good graces.
So I think that's going to be an interesting moment, because what we've seen in kind of the trailers and stuff, there seems to be kind of open rebellion going on between the Sons of the Harpies and Daenerys' group that we've seen in like the trailers and stuff, and some kind of event happening in a Coliseum. So I'm thinking that's probably going to be happening within the next couple weeks.
I think so too.
And I think what we're going to see is Jorah and Tyrion arriving just kind of right into the midst of chaos. And we'll just have to see kind of where things go from there. But yeah, it's interesting. I really like seeing Tyrion kind of exploring this town, kind of trying to hide out from everything, and getting kind of spotted by the Red Priestess of that town, and a lot of kind of interesting stuff going on there.
A lot of interesting stuff happening in that scene. We got inside the House of Black and White.
Yep, and we got to see people taking some kind of like a water sacrament and then dying.
Yes.
So yeah, I know a little bit about what happens, what that's about from the books, but I think there's going to be more to it in the show, so I'm not going to say anything
Okay.
on that front.
Don't know
But
about, but
yeah,
it's all very mysterious.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
the, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it could change it vastly from the way it is in the books that I've read about, but I imagine we're probably going to get quite a bit more. So I'm not going to spoil that. But um, speaking of kind of other kind of book changes going on, we talked about Sansa marrying Ramsay. In the books, it wasn't Sansa; it was a fake Arya, and it was a girl that, yeah, it was a girl that Ramsay had been with before, and we saw her. That was the one that was kind of giving Sansa the stink eye when she showed up in Winterfell. You know, they showed all the line of
Oh,
girls.
I'm trying to think of how that would work. Why Littlefinger would even think trying to pass off a fake Arya would
It
work.
wasn't Littlefinger. Littlefinger had nothing to do with it in the book.
Oh, okay.
It was
Huh.
they were trying to solidify their position in the North, so they took a girl and they pretended that she was
Oh,
Arya.
it was like wholly a Bolton invented thing.
Yeah,
Okay, so this is kind of a major departure from the books then. Yeah.
yes. Sansa and Littlefinger are still in the Eyrie in the books at that point.
Huh.
So it's a pretty big departure, a pretty big change. It's interesting. They're trying to do more with Sansa, I guess.
I guess instead just leave her in the Erie, I suppose.
I don't know how. God, Littlefinger doesn't know anything about Ramsay apparently, and he's apparently still cares about Sansa. I think if he knew anything about Ramsay, he wouldn't, and cared about Sansa, he wouldn't be
Actually,
leaving
I
her.
got the impression that there's something more to this on Littlefinger's end. He told
Mhm.
her that
Oh
she would get
yeah,
revenge for her family.
yeah,
So I
definitely.
think
But even so, if Littlefinger knew about Ramsay, he probably wouldn't put her in that position of danger.
that's a position of great danger.
Yeah.
Ugh.
So, but Littlefinger, chaos is a ladder.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, what he doesn't realize is that once you climb to the top of that ladder, you look down and you're just in a world of shit. Because honestly, who wants to live in a world that's crafted from that much chaos?
Not me. No. Nobody I know.
So, yeah, this episode was pretty good, pretty interesting. It still feels a lot like kind of table setting, like they're setting everything
It
up.
still does, yeah.
We just
Like I
we just
said,
have to wait for him to stab us in the stomachs again.
no major events happened or went down.
Yeah, the biggest was perhaps the storyline going on at the wall right now with John being
Yeah.
the Lord Commander, and it's kind of interesting watching him because I'm like, wow, I've never felt like he's been in as much danger as I do now watching him in a position
Even
of
when he
leadership.
was like stuck behind the wall with the
Oh
wild things.
no, because it's the political danger that's the real danger in
Yeah.
Game of Thrones. And now
Yeah.
that he's in the situation and you see like kind of the things he's doing and he's
You're
not
right. He got
kowtowing at
himself
all.
he got himself into the political game when he was totally divorced from it before. And
Yeah.
I think that puts him in a more precarious position.
Uh, I had rewatched the second episode with my sister because she doesn't have HBO, so she was over here, so we rewatched the first
Oh,
two
okay.
with her. And I was kind of bringing up what we talked about last week with how we're kind of setting up um, Tyrion through his journey over to the north as being, or not to the north, to where Daenerys is, as kind of everything that's going on is kind of showing the desperate need she has of somebody like Tyrion. in that position, and showing
Right.
kind of like the void of not having somebody like that leaves behind for her and how much trouble it's causing her. And then you're seeing him coming into the picture and you're like, oh, okay, I see where he fits as a puzzle piece in this situation. I feel like John really needs somebody. He needs a Tyrion right now, very badly.
I think so. I think
uh,
you're right. He's got
that's
no advisors.
I think the closest thing he has is Sam, and Sam is intelligent, but Sam's not ruthless, So he doesn't have somebody that's um, he has somebody that's intelligent, but not that's like clever in that way that like Tyrion is.
Right, exactly. Like
So
Barry said to Tyrion, somebody with all Tyrion's qualities is a very rare person.
yeah, because that's the thing is that Tyrion's like I think probably the only of his type in the book in the series in that he's clever in the same way that like the most horrible characters on the show are,
Yes.
but he's not horrible. He's like
Yeah,
the
he's
only
not
one.
horrible.
Yeah.
He has compassion and kindness.
It's like
But
him and maybe Varys, I guess, or like the two that are kind of like the clever but not horrible people.
he has compassion and kindness, but he also has that cunning that the
Mm,
worst people in the book or the show have.
yeah, that's what John is in desperate need of right now because that kind of Stark style of leadership, and when you're surrounded by
In
enemies,
Westeros.
yeah, it just
That
doesn't work out too well.
this is why the Starks keep losing. The Starks have honor. They're heroic. They try to do the right thing, but they don't have that political mindset. They have no skill at the political game. Even Ned Stark wasn't very skilled at that,
Yeah.
and
So,
that's what causes their downfall.
so going back to John's action this week in beheading Janice Slint, I couldn't help but feel like a striking similarity between that and his brother executing Karstark in
Oh yeah,
season 3, right before the Red Wedding.
right.
That caused his allies to abandon him. It caused like a whole rift and a problem, and just kind of like the way it came about, like he did what he had to do, kind of with the Stark way of thinking, basically,
Yeah,
and in part it led to his downfall. Ned didn't go and directly execute somebody that led to his downfall, but he set up a situation that led to his downfall. And now this thing with John is just really reminding me of what happened with Rob and with Ned in two different ways. So I'm kind of like, oh, I'm so nervous for his character.
I'm,
So
I'm hoping that John is a little more adept at maneuvering it or getting himself clear of the potential pitfalls than his father and his brother were.
or somebody else has his back in that same way. I mean, I think Sam is intelligent, so hopefully maybe he can kind of see what's coming
Right.
and kind of help to protect John from that. He's not
Maybe,
physically competent, but there are others in the Night's
or
Watch
who
that
knows?
love John.
Maybe Stannis ends up saving him.
I could see that happening too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's really interesting here, and it's going to be, I think, a little bit different from the way it is in the books, from what I've heard, because I think Brienne and stuff is still like way south of where she is. She's not going anywhere near Winterfell. Now we know she's going towards Winterfell.
She
We
is
know,
going towards Winterfell. She is going
yeah.
to save Sansa Stark.
Sansa is in Winterfell, so this isn't something that's going to happen on the road.
Right.
And now Stannis is moving out towards Winterfell.
Oh yeah, he wants to take the North. He wants to be king, and big part of that is taking the North.
But the big thing for me there is that's going to put Stannis and Brienne in the same place.
Yeah, okay.
So
that's true. Yep.
And we just
Brienne
got kind
wants
of a
to get
reminder,
Stannis.
yeah.
Yeah.
And we just got a reminder about Brienne's feelings on Stannis this episode, with her talking about how she's just eventually going to get him, you know,
And we got
and
some history from Brienne, you know. We got a nice moment with her and her
talking
squad.
about Renly, yes.
Yes.
It was also interesting to hear her say, like, you know, he likes men. I'm not stupid. It's like, because the whole time I'm like, wow, that's what you always thought of her character, is that she was so naive and that she didn't realize that aspect. And
Right.
she's saying she does here. I'm not sure how that is in the books. I don't know if they're making kind of a diversion of her character and making her less naive, or if it's the same. I don't know.
I think if they had her written in the books as ignorant of it, I think it's a better change here to not have her be ignorant of that. Because I think it makes her character better. It just, you know, makes her less stupid, you know? Like,
Yeah,
she knows what's going on. She isn't blind. You
yeah.
don't, yeah.
Her naivete, or her naivete is charming to her character and makes her kind of interesting, and how it contrasts with her just imposing presence as a kind of a knight.
Right,
Um, but it can only go so far before she becomes kind of two-dimensional, you know? So I'm
right.
glad that that's not how they chose to go with it, even if it is different from how it is in the book, which I
Well,
don't know if it is or isn't.
I have no idea if that is or isn't. But I still think nothing's changed. I still think she had a deep love and affection for Renly, even
Hmm.
if that couldn't be like a romantic love. And maybe she even wanted that. Maybe deep down she was romantically inclined towards Renly, but she just knows based on the facts that's the way things are.
Yeah. Um, so, in addition to all of those going ons in Westeros, over in Bravos, we have Arya now inside the House of Black and White, and it looks like she's kind of sacrificing her identity, or at least most of it. She couldn't quite get rid of Needle. She
Oh,
kind of put it in some stones. Now there's kind of like two ways you can read that. One is that she wasn't willing to give it up, and the other is that that's kind of a burial for her. You know, that she's kind of
I
like burying her former identity.
I think it's the latter. I think it was a burial for her. She is
Hmm.
willing to sacrifice everything about her to achieve her goal here, to become like Jock and Hagar, to be faceless. Because ultimately her goal is she wants revenge on all these people.
Hmm.
Jock and Hagar is an assassin who can become anyone he wants, and and therefore he's very good at what he does. Arya wants to be that. She wants to be faceless. She wants to be able to get anywhere she pleases to do what she needs to do to avenge her family. And
The problem there though is that if she becomes like Jock and Hagar, if she becomes no one, if she completely abandons her identity, then she can't kill the people on her list,
and I
because those are Arya's enemies, they're not no one's
they're
enemy.
not no one's enemies. And
So
I
she,
don't think she's thinking that part through
hmm
very very much. Because she's still a child, so as smart as she is, she's still got a child's mindset.
But
So
that's why I think that regardless of why she got rid of Needle or how she did it, if it was because she was bearing her own identity, or if it was because she couldn't quite come to throw it into the sea like with everything else, she couldn't give it up completely. I think that it serves a narrative tool as kind of a reminder to us and an eventual place for her to go to reclaim it. And
right,
I think that's what's going to happen. I think that she is going to learn from the Faceless Men, but I don't think she's going to truly become one of them.
I don't think so either. I don't think she's going to complete that journey. I think she's going to at some point she's going to realize it's a folly for her. Uh,
Hmm.
Definitely. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
I hope that's the case because I really like Arya's identity and I don't want her to lose
Right,
it.
exactly.
So it's kind of fun to watch and what's going on, and it looks like next week is probably going to be rather eventful. We
I
might
have not
see.
watched the preview for next week tonight, which was a first because I usually watch the previews, but I have not
Mhm.
seen the preview yet. But we can
I
go
just
ahead.
mean
You
where
can go
things
ahead
are
and
going.
spoil it.
Yeah. No, I just mean where things are generally going. It looks like, I mean, it's likely that we're going to get direct interactions between Jorah and Tyrion, if
Oh
not
yeah,
all the way over to Daenerys already, if not even that. We're going
right.
to at least get direct interactions between them. We're going to have a situation with Varys where he's like, "Where the fuck is Tyrion?"
Yeah,
So we're going to have that, perhaps. We have Arya finally moving on to a state where we should be learning more. If she's, who knows, she might not even be in this next episode.
uh,
Uh,
probably not. Usually,
yeah.
I think in its place we might get more of Dorne. I'm definitely expecting more Dorne next episode. There
We
just has
still
to.
haven't gotten Dorne on the map.
Yeah.
So in the opening credit sequence when they show the map, we still have not seen Dorne
Oh
yet.
yeah, that's right.
Now we've actually
That's
seen Dorne in
what's
the
up.
show in episode 2, but we haven't gotten it in a presence on the map yet.
And usually the map highlights the major places in the season.
Hmm.
That's actually kind of strange. Hmm.
So I'm thinking maybe, when it will show up on the map, it'll be very significant moment for Dorne. Like it'll be like half the episode will be in Dorne kind of thing.
Right, right.
So, because we haven't even met the Sand Snakes yet, and those are
No,
like the really big new characters that were introduced. Or not introduced, but were announced for the
I'm excited
cast.
for that.
Oh yeah,
And
Oberyn's daughters. Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
Um, let's talk about one other thing. There was a character that was introduced for the first time in last or in
The
Sunday's episode.
leader of the High Sparrow.
Yes. So we
Yes.
finally got to see him. That was kind of cool, like the way they infiltrated the brothel and sent the corrupt priest
Yeah.
naked down the streets.
Yeah. And then of
And
course it's like, oh, find this guy and execute him. Cersei, I don't. Cersei is not sure about that. I don't think she likes the High Priest that much.
yeah,
Uh,
I think she's I think she's in a position right now where she realizes that even though she wants people that will kind of do what she wants to be done, in
right.
surrounding her. At the same time, she's realizing that the just having baseless yes men is not advantageous to her. That
Yeah.
she needs other kind of people. I mean, like the person she brought in now as the Master of Whispers, who is the guy that was kicked out of the Citadel or whatever, the the mad scientist, the Frankenstein guy.
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
that guy, he's capable. He's
Right.
in her pocket. He gives is giving his loyalty to her, but he's also capable as like a figure. He's formidable.
Right.
There's something to him, that she can take advantage of. I think that she's trying to make a similar maneuver with the High Sparrow, where she realizes that she doesn't necessarily or won't be able to put him in her pocket. She realizes that this is like a position that she can take political advantage of, perhaps.
Perhaps.
And
Yeah.
I'm interested to see where she thinks that's going to go, because I don't think the High Sparrow is feeling anything in that direction at
I
all.
don't think so. They sum up he's like a very Jesus-like figure, you know.
Yeah.
Um, and it's funny to highlight his genuineness with like the obvious falseness and corruption of the high priest.
Hmm. Or
That
just with Cersei, and Cersei
yeah,
clearly having like some kind of a purpose in like her interactions with him.
and I'm wondering if Cersei feels some sort of affection for this group because her cousin, it also lover, is now a part of this organization.
I think that is likely to be the case. I think that she feels that it's probably a bunch of bullshit, is what she probably feels,
Yeah.
and that she can manipulate the group to her advantage. But I think that she might be in for a surprise if
So too.
that is the case. I hope so. I would
I
hate to
hope
see this just turn out to be another fanatical religious group that has nothing to do with what they actually say. It'd be
right.
kind of
It
cool if they
would
actually
be
turned out to legitimately be who
right.
they say they are.
Turned out to be some fanatical group, evil group. That'd be so cliche. That's been done
Yeah.
8 million times in 8 million different stories. Um, that would just be less interesting of a story tack to go with, especially
Put,
since everybody surrounding them is corrupt as well. So it doesn't even work on that level.
yeah.
If people are corrupt, well, so is everybody else.
Plus, we've talked before about the role that Oberyn played in the series last season as kind of like a comeuppance to the kind of corruptness that's going on in Westeros. That you have this figure that has the power and the position to challenge that directly in a way that others really couldn't,
Right.
And he served that purpose, and that's why I think his death like hit me so hard. Is like, but we needed him,
I know. That's what I felt. I thought, oh my god. I was like, but he was the savior.
yeah, he's got the Obi-Wan like,
Yes.
you were the savior.
That's like Luke Skywalker getting killed at the end of Jedi or something, instead of him winning. Basically, what that felt like. It was
So,
like,
I think that the High Sparrow could represent another kind of comeuppance in the same way of what they need. I think the story kind of goes in these weird directions where um, on one side it'll start building up like oh honor will get you killed, all this stuff will kind of go on, and they build that up, and then the honorable people just get demolished.
yeah,
But
left
then
right.
they follow that up, kind of going the opposite way and saying, but if you act with complete dishonor, that's going to catch up to you as well.
Right.
And so you start going like season 2, for instance, the Lannisters were doing pretty poorly in the war against the North.
Yeah.
Um,
Thing.
Robb Stark was kind of embarrassing them, pretty
Yeah.
much. So I think that plays a big part. Then you get into, then, Robb Stark and his whole group get wiped out. Then you get it again, like, oh, okay, well, now you get the good guys get their comeuppance. And now you had, then Oberyn came in, and it's like, oh, now you feel like, things are going to start evening out the other way. And to some extent, we did get some of that, momentum taken care of in the sense that, Tywin was killed.
Yes.
But I think there
Yeah.
needs to be more repercussions to that. I think that
You had
Tywin's death
several
needs to have a
characters.
bigger impact.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to happen. I think the comeuppance for the Lannisters is not even close to reaching the tipping point.
You
Back
had
to hitting
several
our favorites again.
characters. You had several characters remark this episode that the Lannisters are weak. They don't have nearly half as much power as they had when Tywin was alive.
Mhm.
Yet Roose Bolton backed that up, because his son Ramsay Snow is sitting there saying, oh well, we got the Lannisters on our side. He's like, Lannisters don't have any power anymore. We don't have the Lannisters. Tywin's dead.
Yeah, and I think that means that we're going to see the Lannisters paying quite a bit more, at least for a while, before the pendulum swings the other way and starts, annihilating all of our favorite characters again.
Yeah, right.
But
I just
who
don't
knows?
hope nothing happens to Tyrion, but if you're thinking he is the most popular character in the show. If you're thinking like
He's the figure that kind of represents the show for a lot of people. His
yes, so if
visage.
you're thinking like George R. R. Martin, you're like he's a prime candidate to be killed off.
Yeah. Yeah. But at the same time, it's like, man, that would be harmful to the HBO series. I think that would, if any death on the show causes people to stop watching, I
Right.
think that's the one, you know?
I don't know. I mean, because I kind of
I mean,
thought
I wouldn't stop watching, but
I
I
would.
know some people do. Some people are reactional and they're
Oh,
like, if this person dies, I'm out, kind of, you
I
know?
remember the freakouts on like YouTube after Ned Stark was killed. People swore they were quitting the show after Ned Stark died,
Yeah.
and I think even more people started. There were more freakouts after the wedding. There was like, okay, I can't go on with the show.
I think
But
Tyrion would be the ultimate freak out,
I think,
though.
yeah, yeah. It just
Yeah.
seems like they do these audacious things, and people get upset. But then the new season comes on, the ratings actually get bigger.
Yeah.
They don't shrink; they just get bigger.
Which, by the way, the premiere right now, the totals have come out. 18 million viewers total for the pilot episode, or for
How's that
the
compared to
season
last season?
premiere. I'm not sure. I don't think it was that big.
I don't think so either.
18 million is pretty huge, especially for HBO, because HBO is a much smaller pool than, say, like what The Walking Dead swims in, you
Right.
know?
It's a pay cable channel, so it's not like on like open cable like AMC is, where they probably reach a lot smaller number of subscribers. Although I have to figure with Game of Thrones on the air and stuff, that number has probably been growing pretty steadily.
Yeah. I'd be interested in seeing the numbers for like HBO Now subscribers, and then
That,
comparing that to like the piracy numbers and
that's
how
what
those
I'm
relate to
really
the piracy
interested
numbers
in.
last year.
Yeah, that's what I'm really interested in right now is HBO Now numbers. How many people subscribe to HBO Now to watch Game of Thrones? Um, is that going to stick once Game of Thrones is over? That's very interesting. More so than the normal ratings, which that's good news. That's a good story.
Well, I
But
believe True Detective's starting back up in June. They've been
yes,
advertising it pretty heavily on HBO.
I wonder
So
if that's going to have like, is that going to be able to retain viewers like HBO hopes it will? Are people going to stick around with their subscriptions after Game of Thrones for True Detective?
I think it will, but not in totality. Like there'll be a drop. But I think that the timing of True Detective, it looks like it's going to be right after. And that timing, I think, is crucial. And I
Yeah,
think it's the only show they have that they could do that with, and where the timing
that's
would just
clearly
hit
why
it
they're
right.
there. I mean, HBO, they have their shows. They have their schedule. They have the spring show, which is Game of Thrones. Then they have their summer show, which is now, it used to be True Blood,
Yeah,
but now it's True Detective.
it has to be true.
Yeah, it has to be. And then they have the fall show, the show that came on at the end of summer, which was Boardwalk Empire. I don't know what they're replacing that with yet.
Yeah, they got quite a few new ones coming up. They also have the new. They have two half-hour shows, I believe, coming at the same time as True Detective, if I'm not mistaken. Which is
Right.
they have a new show with The Rock in it, called Ballers. That's about football players. And then they have a new show with Jack Black called The Brink, which is about, I think, like a war that's about to break out or something. I can't remember. I wrote a description of it before and I don't remember. But it's kind of like about the politics of like avoiding a war, basically. I think.
Politics of avoiding a war. Is it
Yeah.
a comedy?
What was that?
Is it a comedy?
I think so. I think it's a really dark comedy about a very bad event that's about to happen and it's about to escalate, and it's about people trying to kind of stop it.
Oh,
And yeah,
interesting. Might have to check that out.
so both of those have been being heavily advertised, like before and after Game of Thrones now, and yeah, they got They got a few things. They also have The Leftovers, which I believe is a summer show, or was a
Oh,
summer show. Maybe that'll be a fall show.
it might be a fall show.
Yeah.
So I can't think of that for the fall now.
Yeah, that might be their fall show. I think that is.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, they got some other stuff coming up. Looks like that Dark Tower thing's still gonna happen. We'll have to see.
Hopefully, fingers crossed. Like I said,
Yeah.
until I see production stills, I have some proof. I'm not believing. There's been so many false starts that I'm not going to trust anything until somebody is in a costume and they're filming.
Until I see the season finale, I will not believe that this ever happened. And even then, I'll wonder if it was just a strange fever dream I had.
I'll have to buy the DVD box set to really know it's real. But that's been like the holy grail of Stephen King projects for years and years.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's like the time is right for that kind of thing. Because, we have a lot of projects that are coming about now that are those kind of like, this is never going to happen projects.
Yes.
And we kind of talked about this in our last podcast, where we have stuff like, Preacher. That's another one, like Dark Tower.
I remember reading, when I was in high school, Wizard Magazine was talking about making a Preacher TV show that was supposed to happen. So this show was supposed to happen since I was in high school. I'm 33 now.
Yeah. Yeah, that's another one that's like that. I mean, there are a lot of shows that have kind of taken off like that. American Gods is in development right now. That was one that was heavily rumored, not so much for a TV show, but as a movie, and never kind of came about. And now that's going to happen. That's another HBO one that's going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
But that's not happening, I think, until 2016 or later. So that'll be a ways off.
I heard HBO picked that up again because what I heard from its development, it was originally at HBO, then HBO dropped it, and somebody else supposedly picked it up, and then nothing happened at all.
Are you talking about American Gods, or?
American Gods, yeah.
Yeah, American Gods, it just was announced, I think, mid to late last year for HBO, and it's being put together by Brian Fuller.
Okay.
And that one, it hasn't. There's been no change in that. It's still at HBO from everything we've heard. Every so often, Brian Fuller will kind of reference it. And he says it's kind of a ways off still, though.
Yeah, he's still got his hands full doing Hannibal right now, which is surprisingly and wonderfully enough heading into its third season.
Who would have thought that was possible?
I know, right?
Yeah, nobody watches that show. It's amazing how, I have a Hannibal shirt. I'll walk around wearing it, and in the entire time I've worn it, I've had two people, besides people that I got into Hannibal myself, I've had two people recognize that shirt. Which is like crazy when you consider that I'll wear like a Army of Darkness shirt, and I've had like probably 100 people plus have recognized it,
Right. Yeah, nobody watches that show yet. It's in its third season on network television. This isn't on some niche cable channel.
Well, it's on NBC, which hasn't really been doing too horribly well.
No, they haven't.
So
it's a lot tougher to make it on a network. But apparently, I heard like half their production is funded by
a German company. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess it's cheap for NBC to produce in that capacity. So it's not really costing them that much to make. So I guess and critics love it. So I guess that's the reasons for keeping it around.
So I can kind of segue us back on topic here by saying that Game of Thrones is the kind of thing that I would have, when it first got announced, I was like, oh man, it'll be awesome when we get one season of that, and then they'll cancel it.
Yeah, right.
And now it's so monstrous. And I felt the same thing about The Walking Dead. I'm like, this will be great for the one season it'll last.
Who thought that those type of shows would ever take... You weren't alone in thinking that. Television executives, tons of them had passed on both shows, numerous times before somebody said yes, and because nobody believed that either of those shows were going to be the phenomenon they became, and there was no reason to believe that. You can't point to another fantasy series and say that is one of the biggest television hits of all time. So of course Thrones is going to do good. We need to capitalize on that. There was nothing. There was no zombie show. Breaking records, These genre shows kind of came out of nowhere to become breakout hits.
We just thought it was all going to be a bunch of police procedurals.
Yeah. I thought, well, maybe if The Walking Dead is a police procedural where they, like, find the zombie every week.
Then they say a one-liner and put on sunglasses.
Yes.
Yeah! Okay, so I'm just gonna wrap us up for that. Sounds like we kind of like the direction it's going in. We're kind of excited about seeing where things are going, but it also seems that it's kind of departing pretty big time from the books, which we've been kind of preparing for, and fans of the books have been dreading. But
I don't read the books, so it's not affecting me. I'm not even noticing it. I mean, I think if it is, great, because that gives you something new to look. Even if you read the books, that gives you a fresh take, something to look forward to.
Mm-hmm.
So I think even for book readers, that should be welcome. And
I notice it strongly just in that it's easier to avoid spoilers now.
Yeah, I think another net benefit is people are worried about the show's going to start spoiling the books. I thought, well, maybe if it diverges kind of radically enough, maybe it won't be a spoiler for the next few books. Not that much of a spoiler.
Yeah.
So it creates an element we don't know. So book fans feel confident that maybe you don't know everything.
Yeah. It's exciting times, and we'll be back next week to talk about episode 4. There will be no podcast this week because, well, The Avengers is coming out, and that's kind of going to be taking our attention completely away. We will be doing some kind of a video thing, not going to kind of say too much about it, in relation to the MCU and stuff that's going on with that in place of doing the podcast, but that's not going to be up until the week after. So we'll see you guys again on next Monday or Tuesday, whenever we get the next one of these up. Bye.
Bye-bye.